Alright guys, welcome back to another video, and today we're here to review and take a look at the Sony WH-1000XM6s. Just got these on Amazon Prime Prime sales that were going on in the last couple days. Not that it was that much off, it was only 30 bucks off. This is an expensive pair of headphones. This is $430. This is the latest from Sony. A lot of people have always talked about the XM4s being like the best headphones you can ever get. And XM5s had a little bit of criticisms, and now that we have the XM6s that basically fixed everything that a lot of people criticized on the XM5s that people were talking about, like being able to fold them again and you know, stuff like that that people didn't like about the XM5s. But we're going to be coming at this from a different perspective because a lot of people have already reviewed this thing, and I'm not an audiophile, so I can't really hear, unless if I'm really putting them side by side with different headphones, and this is the only headphone I have to compare to. I haven't even had headphones in a very long time because I usually just end up using, for music and my phone and stuff like that, either AirPods and stuff like that, but I have had these in the past, and I was, looking forward to getting one of these when the time was right to basically have headphones, because I do like over-the-ear headphones way better when I'm on like an airplane, when I'm going to a friend's house, or when I'm listening to music and stuff like that. These are definitely better for me in my experience, and they're going to sound a lot better, of course, than what a pair of AirPods would, even though AirPods are very easy to just walk around anywhere you are. But we're going to be coming at this a little bit differently because so many people have already reviewed this, and since I'm not an audiophile here, I wanted to review these in different applications of the way I use them and tell you guys, how I use them, why I use them this way. We're talking about things like two of my phones that I have in front of me, an Android and an iPhone. We're talking about things like my Meta Quest 3 sitting here behind me. We're talking about AR glasses. We're talking about the Steam Deck. We're talking about the Nintendo Switch. If you want to use these headphones for a variety of different platforms and a variety of different systems, we're going to talk about how well they work for each of them and how to use them and how to get the best thing out of them. So let's go ahead and get into the video.
Gaming tech, eating brekkie is the gaming tech. Going for a brekkie is the gaming tech. Gaming tech is the gaming tech. Gaming techie.
Alright guys, so the first thing we're going to take a look at here before we get into the phones first is just unboxing this real quick. Now, of course, I already have been playing with this for a couple of days, and I just reboxed it to show you guys what the box looks like here, so you guys can get an idea. And I did get the midnight blue version, and you just kind of open this up here on the side. Comes in this little white cardboard type material here where the case is. So if we open this up here, right here at the top, you got your little instruction guide that tells you to scan this code to use an app to set it up, with a couple of instructions inside. But then the main event inside is these nice blue case. Now, because I got the navy blue, it does come with a navy blue case. Now, one of the things that I really like about this case that most other headphones do not do, including any of the other previous XM4s or XM5s, is the way that this case opens. It is magnetic now, so you don't have to worry about zippering it. So there's no zipper here. Guarantee you this is something that a lot of people are going to be copying, because this is so much better and easier to work with than, relying on a zipper that may break over time. This is so much better and so much more awesome and premium feeling. Really like the blue nature of the case there, as you can see. And then, of course, we have the headphones inside. So if we take a look at the close-up here, you can see how nice these headphones actually look. It has a really nice plushy feel to the plush on the inside of these things. It feels really good. It also lets you put it on your neck like people were talking about. Like you sometimes have it like this. And I go ahead and expand these a little bit. If you have them on your head as well, and you want to do something like this, you can put them down so they're a little bit more out of the way, so they don't have to be like this if you don't want them to, because it's a little bit more in your way. You can kind of put them flat down, which is nice. And they feel really premium. I really like the look of the midnight blue that we have here. Really nice plushy material on the top as well, as well as the cup holders. You got the power on and off button. This is rated to get about 30 hours of battery life when you have ANC turned on. But it actually gets about 37 hours if you have ANC turned off. So really good battery life on here as well. It does have a headphone jack that you can go ahead and use if you want to do that. We'll talk about that more later. You have your ANC button, and then you have a button here on the side, and then you also have the USB-C charger on the right there. So it does have the each cup holders, or each side labeled. You have a little left-hand side, left for the right and right, so you don't mess them up. They're labeled pretty easily. And yeah, they're really comfortable. The most comfortable headphones I've ever worn over the last couple days here, using them for hours on end. you know, it's been really good. And I really like the case design, like I said, with the nice blue that you have there. Has a little USB-C like slot right here for your USB cable. Really nice and thin, so you can put this in your bag really nice, and it just works super well in my opinion. Putting the headphones down for a minute, you also have the fact that this uses a application. So we're going to go ahead and pop up the application here on our phones right now, and this is called Sony Connect. So this is what really sets us apart, in my opinion, for what I wanted, not only for all these features, but as somebody who uses an iPhone and an Android back and forth every day, this is really useful stuff. So let me go ahead and start screen recording here. So we have screen recording here on the iPhone, and if we go ahead and go back to the app, this is the app right here. So we're going to go ahead and hit connect, so you can see this connecting right now. Do automatically turn off after like a couple of minutes and stuff like that, so it goes into the off state. You can see this is connecting right now, and boom, we are connected. We're at 53%, and you can see all different settings on here when you first turn this on. So let's go through a couple of them to talk about some of the features of this thing, so you guys understand how to use this when you're using all the different devices that we're going to talk about in this video. You got things like ambient sound control, so you got noise canceling, and the noise canceling on here is amazing. I literally had the projector in front of me turned on with the sound pretty high up, and I put these on with ANC turned on, and I was listening to my music, and I could not hear the YouTube video that was playing on there, which was insane. Then you have ambient sound, which basically just adjusts the ANC based on what it hears around you, based on the environment that you're in. And then you can turn it off completely. Like I said, if you turn it off, you got 37 hours of battery life, give or take. And if you use it, you got 30 hours of battery life with noise canceling. Now, listening mode is pretty important on here. You got three different ones. You got your standard, your background music, and your cinema. So standard is what you're going to be using most of the time when you're listening to music. For example, anything music related, I would always leave it on standard mode. Or background music. Background music basically switches it to, so it feels like the music is further away, like you're in a cafe and stuff like that. It's a pretty cool effect. It's not something that I'm probably going to use a lot, but it is a pretty cool effect that kind of makes it feel like the music is further away from you, which is pretty interesting. But for anything music related, I would definitely be using this standard listening mode most of the time. And then you have cinema mode here. Now, cinema mode here is interesting because it basically upscales any stereo input that is being received by the phone, and it's going to convert it into 360 surround. So it's basically like upscaling anything stereo into 360 surround, and it does a pretty good job, where it's something that we're going to be talking about on what I use on different devices that is definitely really worth it for movies and for gaming. Then you have your equalizer settings, so you can go ahead and measure your equalizer. You could also optimize, and what I really like is there's an option here that says find your equalizer. So you can go ahead and hit that, and it will play different sounds on your headphones, and you can decide which one sounds better, and it will set the equalizer to those different things based on the different settings that you take. So I really like that, because getting your equalizer settings is not something that a lot of people do very well. So that's a pretty good way to do it. Then you got your adaptive sound control. If you want to turn that on and off, that's going to adaptively mix the sound depending on what you're actually doing and what's around your environment. And then you have your connected devices, and this is what's really cool about this. You can see I have different devices that have been paired before, like my SteamDeck, my Switch, my Android phone, and my Quest 3, which is the devices we're going to be talking about. And what's really interesting about this stuff is that when you have this turned on, you can easily switch between two devices back and forth. So if I have my Android and iPhone paired, I can go ahead and listen to my music on here, and if I instantly want to switch to my Android phone and watch a YouTube video, it will automatically switch over to it and back and forth and back and forth. Same thing with any other device that you connect to. So it can be paired to two different devices at the same time via Bluetooth and automatically go back and forth within like a half a second. So that's really useful for someone like me who carries around two phones, or just is always switching this Bluetooth, these pair of headphones to a bunch of different variety of devices. So really, really useful stuff there. And then you have your device settings on here. You can mess with some of that stuff, like speak to chat. It has your listening mode, your equalizer, your spatial surround sound. It has Bluetooth connection quality. So this is really important here. So Bluetooth connection quality, make sure you hover over this, and because it doesn't turn on by default, you want to make sure you prioritize sound quality. What this is doing, it's basically using the new codec here to give you the lowest frequency that you have on here that a lot of these devices support, like my Android phone, like my iPhone. The Quest 3 supports it, which will show you guys that. And a lot of devices support it. So you want to turn this on instead of prioritizing stable connection, which uses the old codecs and stuff. You want to make sure you change this and keep it on this. I don't see any reason right now that I've tested to change this for any other reason. And it gives you much lower latency when it comes to Bluetooth connectivity that we're used to, where a lot of the lip syncing when you're watching movies is not synchronized. When you have this turned on, all of that is taken care of. You have your option here to turn DSEE Extreme on and off. It's not something I've ever turned on, but it's there if you need it. If you want to upsample stereo sound, you can do that, and it creates like a better sounding sound stage for stereo sound. 360 reality setup is something different than the 360 sound I talked about before. This is if you use certain apps out there, which I haven't really messed a lot with, that you can do reality audio. Then you have different scenes, which is, like I said, scene-based listening. Enjoy optimized settings. You have Discover on here that just gives you a bunch of different activity of what you're doing. You have your menu here that kind of gives you just alerts like software updates and stuff like that. So that is pretty much what you have on here as far as the application that you have on there. So the application is really well designed and some really good features here on the headphone as well when you wear them, which I really like. When you're listening to music on here and you put this in front of you, you can put your hand over this and it will instantly turn on so I can hear you guys. So even right now I have ANC turned on and I can hear that it's muffling out the sound. It has 8 different microphones on here to get the best ANC that I've ever heard on any pair of headphones. But if you hover your hands right here, you don't even have to take your headphones out. You can actually just hear the other person talking. And it actually makes it sound sometimes that it actually amplifies the sound more than if you just took this off like this. I can hear myself really well, even with just cupping my hand just like this. So it's really, really cool how you can do that and just cup your hand and then it amplifies the voice so you don't even have to take your headphones off and you can hear the other person even with ANC turned on. So really, really cool stuff with that. And I really, really like the pair of headphones. Like I said, I really like the build quality. Really like the blue. I'm a huge blue fan, obviously, it being my favorite color. But let's go ahead and talk about some of the things when it comes to the iPhone and Android. So when you pair this on your iPhone or Android phone, you are going to be able to get and listen to music. Obviously, I use Apple Music, so I can use it on both operating systems very easily. So you can use music and just play a bunch of stuff. Now, what I did on the iPhone here is I turned off in the settings Dolby Atmos support, because Dolby Atmos is only something that works really well with like iPhone headphones and stuff like that with their Apple Maxes and stuff like that. So I turned that off in the settings, because if you don't turn off Dolby Atmos in the settings off, then what's going to happen is you're not going to get lossless audio. So when I'm playing a song right now on the iPhone, you can see on the bottom here, it actually is going to say lossless audio. And the reason it's going to say lossless audio is because iPhone obviously delivers lossless audio, just like the Android does. They both do lossless audio. So you're going to get the best sound quality that you can on here. Now, what you want to do to make sure that that is set correctly is if you go into your settings on the iPhone and you go into the apps here on the bottom and you scroll over to Apple Music and you come down to here and then you see towards the bottom you see Dolby Atmos. So you're going to go ahead and turn this off, so it doesn't ever use Dolby Atmos. So turn this off on here for Dolby Atmos, and then audio quality is what you're going to go into, and you can change the 5G and Wi-Fi streaming to lossless. High-res lossless is not needed because you need like a separate amp for that, so lossless is the best you're going to get from Bluetooth headphones. Switch it from high quality, which is what the default is, and do it for downloads as well in case you ever download some music. Cellular streaming, decide what you want. If you want to use lossless or high quality if you're on cellular data. Depending on how much data this is going to consume, you can see when you're on lossless, it's going to consume 36 megabytes per 3-minute song. So it's going to use a lot more data there. But make sure those options are checked, and then you're going to be able to use this audio. And it sounds so good on here on the standard mode when you're listening to music. Like I said, I don't want lossless audio is exactly what I want. I don't want to use their cinema mode for music. I think using this like this and listening to the music, and it does automatically pause the music when you're actually playing. Like right now, I'm listening to lossless audio right now, and it sounds fantastic on the iPhone, and I use the Apple Music on the Android phone. You could also get lossless audio, and the quality is just as good, and I can rotate between 2 phones and still use the same streaming service. And it just works super well, and the music sounds good. It does have a good amount of bass as well when you're using these phones. And if you're playing a game on your phone, or if you're using, like I talked about before, if you're playing a game on your phone, then you want to go ahead and go into the settings and switch that option that we talked about before, which is the cinema mode. Cinema mode is going to give you that 360 like experience on these headphones when you're watching things that are in stereo. but being up-res. When I'm using these headphones on here and I'm watching things like Netflix or, you know, YouTube videos and stuff like that, or playing Android or iPhone games on here, then I turn cinema mode on to give me that 360 like experience, and it's taking that stereo output and up converting it, which sounds really, really good on here, and it's definitely worth using. Like I said, anything for music, leave on standard. Anything else on your phone, I would switch to cinema mode. Now, one of the things I don't know, and I would love to hear what you guys think about it, is that when I play things on Plex is a media server, if you guys know about that, where I store my Blu-rays and stuff like that. I usually have those saved with 5.1 surround sound. So if a application is already running in 5.1 surround sound and then it's outputting 5.1 surround sound on your phone, like if I'm watching a Plex movie and I have 5.1 selected as the stereo mix, should I just turn on standard mode and turn off cinema mode? Because it seems to me like it would be doubling the effort. It's sending you a 5.1 surround sound signal already through the Plex video that I have, and then I'm also doing it again by turning on cinema mode. So I imagine that you would turn on standard mode if you have a movie that's definitely playing in surround sound, but that's only going to be the case if you're streaming it yourself on your phone like I am through Plex, because I imagine everything else out there for sure, like Netflix, like YouTube and everything else, is just going to be sending you a stereo signal on your phone because it doesn't do it any other fashion. So for those, I would definitely make sure that you turn on that. But put the comments down below and let me know, is the iPhone or iPads and any of those things that you're using, if you're watching a movie that's definitely doing 5.1 surround sound from your server, for example, and it's outputting that, should I turn off that cinema mode and just do standard mode? Because I'm not sure about that, and going back and forth, I can't really tell. So that's an interesting thought. But for most of the stuff you're going to be watching, like Netflix and all the other streaming applications, they're always going to do stereo when you're watching it on the phone, so make sure you turn that option on. Now, the next thing we're going to be switching to here is the Meta Quest 3 and how this works with VR, because a lot of people don't like using Bluetooth headphones in VR because of the audio delay. And I was nervous about using these headphones in VR as well, because the Quest has built-in audio, but in my opinion is not the greatest form of audio. It doesn't work that well. Well, I mean, it works. The audio on here is fine, but it definitely isn't like the best sounding audio in the world, and it doesn't have like any like crazy bass or anything like that, obviously. But again, it does work really well on here with these headphones, and I'm going to show you guys that right now. So I'm going to pull up the Sony app just for simplicity's sake and just switch over to the option that I showed you before about connected devices. I'm going to go ahead and choose the Quest 3, so it connects to the Quest 3 on my list. And now I hear the audio switched over to the Quest 3. And there we go. Now I'm going to record the video on here just to show you guys these settings that you need to make sure this is connected to. The headphones also, as you guys can see in my video, when I put this over my head, does fit perfectly over the Quest, and it still cups my whole ear, even with the Bobo VR strap, which is really important. It cups your whole entire ear, which is freaking awesome. It doesn't like interfere with the strap or anything like that for Bobo VR, so you got a full seal on there, which is awesome. Now, let me go ahead and turn on the recording here for you guys. So we're here in front of the Oculus menu here. As you guys can tell, we're in our little home virtual environment, and you can see that I have the XM6s connected. Now, what's really important is, first of all, that setting that I showed you guys on the phone before to turn on the low latency mode, that is important, because if you don't turn that on, this option on the Quest 3 won't be available. Basically, when you connect these Bluetooth headphones for the first time, you're going to click the little arrow here, and you'll see this little option right here, LE audio. This is low energy audio, enhances sound quality and performance while using low energy, and you can turn this on. Before I turn this on, there was a 1 second to 2 second delay when I was watching movies and watching, like, you know, whatever it was that I was doing. And when I turned this on, the audio delay went away. So basically now when I go into applications like this, like if I open up my navigator here and I open up the application that I was messing with yesterday, for example, like big screen beta, like Moon VR, like Beat Saber and stuff, there was a noticeable delay. So the lips weren't matching the actual audio, but now it actually does. And I'm going to show you guys this in a second here, just to show you guys a quick trailer. Moon Player is such a great app to watch your different media and stuff like that. And I have my media on my network here, and I have like my 3D movies that I ripped from my Blu-rays on here. And I have like a little trailer for the new Avatar movie and stuff like that. So I'm going to just show you that here real quick. If I go ahead and play this in my little cinema mode. So this is a 3D trailer that you guys are looking at for Avatar Fire and Ash that's coming out in December here in my virtual environment. Now, obviously, I have the volume low, so I don't get a copyright strike, but not only does this look fantastic in 3D, keep in mind that I am recording while watching this, so, and there is no delay at all. There is no delay at all. The lips are actually matching. Obviously, it's not something I can prove to you guys until you listen it to yourself, but you can hear the audio. Like if I raise this up just a little bit, just so I can hear it, and I scroll back a little bit. Oh, missed it. Right here. Yeah, so that was perfectly in sync right there while watching that, even while recording right now. So it just works super well, and you know, you're not going to have any issues with syncing or anything like that, which is really awesome. And what's also really impressive as well is that I was able to play Beat Saber also with no audio delay as well. So you have Beat Saber right here that I was playing yesterday, and Beat Saber had no audio delay at all. When I was playing this, like when I was playing Beat Saber and slicing blocks, there was no issues with me playing. So that is really good news as well. Now, if I take these headphones off for a second and take off the Quest 3, something you could also do as well, don't forget, is that this also has, as you guys can see here, the audio jack here on the bottom. So you can go ahead and connect a 3.5 millimeter cable to this and the Quest 3, and you don't even have to rely on Bluetooth. And then you could just, you know, use it that way, and then you definitely won't get any audio lag either because it has the 3.5 millimeter cable. Now, when you're using the 3.5 millimeter cable, make sure that you still have these powered on. They still need to be turned on. If you turn them off, and you plug them in, they're still going to work, but the audio is going to sound terrible. It's not going to have anything like pumping or any bass or anything like that because it's not using the internals of the DAC on board. It's not going to use any of the internals that makes this headphones what they are. So you need to make sure these are turned on. I've seen people online realize that after, be like, oh, why does this sound so bad when I'm on the 3.5 millimeter jack? And it's because they didn't turn the headphones on, and it's just relying through the cable, and it doesn't sound very good. So make sure that they're turned on when you do that. But it does work that way. But for me, I'm just going to use Bluetooth because it works really well, and there's no reason for me to switch out of it when it works that well. So that is what I do with the Quest 3. Now, for most of my other devices for VR, I don't really use it because there's not really a reason to, because I have, you know, the Big Screen Beyond has its built-in audio. You know, the Pimax headset here has the DeMoss speakers, which sound great, so there's no reason for me to use it with that. The Apple Vision Pro is not something I would use this with because the Apple Vision Pro does surround sound and spatial audio, specifically with their either AirPod Pros, which I have, or with just using the audio strap, which is usually what I use because the audio strap on the Apple Vision Pro actually works really well, so I never have a reason to switch out of that. And then we also have the Pimax here, and then we also have the Play for Dream on here. Now, when it comes to the Play for Dream, unfortunately, the Play for Dream headset, with the way the strap is designed with the top strap here that I have and stuff like that, it's not something, and you guys will see it here when I put this on right now. To use this, it's not easy to, and you can still do this and you can still use it and it's still going to give you better audio, but you can see as I use this that you're going to have these kind of floating above you. You're not going to be able to put these flush on the head like you did with the Quest. You're not going to be able to use these you know, on the side here with it being like completely flush on your ear. My ears are still inside the cups, but it's just not like a tight seal like it was with the Quest. So would I still use this? Yeah, because I'm still going to get better audio than I would on the strap that comes with the Play for Dream. But just know that, like, you know, you're just going to have to deal with this not being fully sealed on your ear if that's something that's going to bother you. Just make sure that you know that. And what I really like about these headphones too that I forgot to mention is that on the side here it has like a touch panel, so you can like double tap to pause the music. You can raise the volume by going up and just going like this, or you can switch the track by just swiping forward. So you have all these touch controls on the right side of your ear too, which I forgot to mention, which is super fun. Now, one of the other things that also works really well with these is pairing this. Of course, we talked about pairing it with your phone and how great that audio quality is going to be and when you're using it, but cinema mode with movies is amazing. We talked about that already, but using it with these Viture glasses is even better. Because basically what happens is I can plug these Viture glasses into my phone. If I put the other end of this into my iPhone, for example, and I go ahead and connect this to the side, and now I have my phone in front of me, as expected. Now on the iPhone here, just make sure you rotate the audio to Bluetooth. Now I can go ahead and put these right above me. Now the audio is coming from these right now, so I gotta go into the phone and you gotta switch the audio. And now I'm on my phone and I can do whatever I want like you would on these glasses normally. And I really like the way that these fit. I get a really good seal on here, and it fits really comfortably, and I could wear these watching a movie or whatever. Sometimes scrolling through TikTok, like you can see. Sometimes scrolling through TikTok and stuff like that that you can see. So it just works extremely well, and it has a tight seal on your ear, so these bands here don't get in the way. Like I was talking about with the Play for Dream, these work really well on the side here, and they fit flush, and you have the nice tight seal, and you're going to get way better audio quality than any of these AR glasses will give you, obviously, out of the box. That's kind of obvious. And, you know, using these makes the experience of watching a movie even better. So now you got the 1.5 surround, now you got the 100 screen in front of you, and then you also, now on top of that, have the fact that you can use that cinema mode on here and get movies like experience on these headphones with the movies that you're actually watching. So super fun stuff. Now here we have the Nintendo Switch 2 as well. So if I go ahead and put these headphones on right now, put them on my head, and I go into that app here just for easy switching that I talked about before. So we're going to go ahead and open up the Sony app, and I'm just going to go ahead and switch out. I'm going to disconnect the Quest 3 from it really easily. So boom, it's been disconnected as my second option, and now I have the Nintendo Switch on the list. And I'm going to go ahead and just click on the Nintendo Switch. It says it's connecting, and boom, it's already connected to the Nintendo Switch, and the audio already switched on the Nintendo Switch to it. And there's no perceivable delay on here. There's no options when I connected the Bluetooth to pair anything. It must just be you know, working with the low latency mode already turned on. And you could tell because when you scroll through the main menu here, the audio cues when you're actually moving from thing to thing is spot on. There's no delay when I'm moving through these icons, and then I also watched like a clip on the Nintendo eShop and stuff like that that showed me that this was working really well. I also played some Mario Kart and some Street Fighter and stuff like that, and it works really well. Again, this is not something I could really perceivably show you on here, but it does work really well with the Nintendo Switch. No noticeable lag or latency that's noticeable that's going to throw you off in any of the games, so that's obviously good to see. And then not only do we have the Nintendo Switch, but then we also have the Steam Deck right next to us. Also works really well. I was actually playing Sonic Racing Cross Worlds before, and it automatically switched to the Steam Deck, so I didn't even have to do anything. So what's really nice about this most of the time when it works really well is when you have all these devices originally paired up, like I showed you guys on the list here of the app that I had, like the Steam Deck paired and the Quest and the Z Fold and whatever. When it hears audio coming from that, it automatically switches to it, which I think is pretty cool in some cases. So that's really, really nice. So it just rotated that right to my Steam Deck, and now I'm listening to the audio without having to do anything. So if you switch to a lot of devices like me, super useful stuff. So it does work really well on here. I don't notice any perceivable lag on here either when I'm playing different games. As I scroll through right now, I'm here playing SpongeBob Rehydrated right now, and I'm listening to the audio with you guys at the same time on the Steam Deck here, and the audio sounds good. I'm jumping around and I can hear the jumping sensation and me falling on the ground. And you could always, like I said, if you don't want to do that and you want to rely and you don't want to rely on Bluetooth for whatever reason, and you want to make sure that you definitely don't have any audio, you can always connect these things to that 3.5 millimeter jack just to make sure that this is powered on. You could do that with the Steam Deck, and you can also do it with the Switch 2 as well. So either way you want to do it, it will work fine if you carry around a 3.5 millimeter. But to me, it seems like the Bluetooth is functioning really well on my devices like the Steam Deck, the Nintendo Switch 2, like the MetaQuest 3, like the Viture glasses and stuff like that. It's all working with no noticeable Bluetooth delay, especially on the Quest 3. I was super impressed with the low latency mode, because Quest 3 has always been notorious for having really bad audio latency when it comes to Bluetooth headphones. So this is the first time I've tried it, and the fact that Beat Saber was spot on, the fact that the movies were all in sync, and don't forget I was streaming those movies from my local network, so that wasn't even on the actual device. So there's a lot of processing going on there. So the fact that everything was synced up on there was awesome. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, a little bit of a different view into these headphones here than a lot of other people do out there. So hopefully that gave you guys a look into it. Really, really satisfied with these headphones. I'm glad I got them. They're going to be really versatile to be able to use them in a variety of different ways. I think my main use case for them was obviously traveling and going about and going to friends' houses and stuff. These are going to be what I carry around with me everywhere. This is what I'm going to use when I'm on an airplane. This is what I'm going to use in a variety of different situations when I want to watch, you know, listen to music or watching movies on my phone and stuff like that, and I'm not actually home. And I'll probably use them also on the MetaQuest 3 a lot too, and the Viture glasses as well, because obviously the audio quality on the AR glasses are never going to be that great. I'd rather use them on here. And the fact that the MetaQuest 3 even when you use Bluetooth headphones, still gives you spatial audio, which is really important. So you don't need to, I forgot to mention, when you're on the Meta Quest 3, because it's already doing spatial audio, you don't need to turn on the cinema mode because the Quest 3 is already pushing spatial audio to it. So I leave the headphones on standard mode, and then I let the Quest 3 process the spatial audio that it usually sends to the Bluetooth headphones, because I don't want it to do, I don't know if it causes any issues, but I don't want it to do double processing where I have this turned on for cinema mode and it's trying to react to different things and make stereo uplifting into surround sound, and then I have the Quest 3 also doing spatial audio. So if something supports spatial audio, like the Quest 3, then go back to standard mode and just use the spatial audio on that. That's why I said cinema mode is great when you're on your phone and you're watching movies or TV shows and Netflix and all that stuff, because that's going to be doing stereo and it's going to upconvert it using cinema mode to 360 surround. But when you're using things like the Meta Quest 3 that's already doing spatial audio and you know it supports it through Bluetooth headphones like the Meta Quest 3 does, then just use the standard mode and let the Quest 3 do the heavy lifting. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video and got a different look of what most people have been talking about with these headphones, and it lets you decide depending on how you want to use them and if you guys want to purchase them. They are definitely not cheap at $450 on a regular price, but they are really fun to use and really have the best sound quality I've ever heard out of headphones. Again, I'm not an audiophile, but the bass sounds great. The listening to music on these is amazing. It sounds loud as hell, and I can't really ask for anything else out of these headphones. I think they sound fantastic, and I'm probably going to be using these for many years to come. So if you guys want to purchase your own and you guys want to support me and the channel, there will be a link down below if you guys want to use it. Other than that, guys, thank you guys for watching. Till next time.